The ceiling of the recovery room was the first thing I saw. White. Flat. A long fluorescent tube humming somewhere above me like it had somewhere better to be. The smell hit me next. Antiseptic and something stale underneath it, the particular smell of a building that never fully aired out. My mouth was dry. My throat felt scraped raw. I tried to lift my right hand and found a tube taped to the back of it, held in place with pale medical tape that had already started to peel at the edges. I was alone. I didn't know that right away. You don't when you first come back. You take inventory slowly, ceiling, smell, hand, tube, pain. The pain came last, a low, pulling ache in my lower abdomen, tight and insistent, like something had been rearranged inside me and not everything had agreed to the new arrangement. I pressed the call button clipped to my blanket. A nurse came in 2 minutes later, brisk, kind in the efficient way that hospital staff are kind when they have 12 other patients. "You're awake," she said. "Good. You've been out for a while." "How long?" I asked. My voice was barely a voice. "Since yesterday evening," she said. "You came in through emergency. Appendix. The surgeon got to it in time." She adjusted something on the 4-stand. "You have 3 stitches. You'll feel sore for a few days, but you're going to be fine. I'll let the doctor know you're conscious." She left. I lay there and looked at the ceiling and did what I always do when things fall apart. I took stock. My name is Seraphina Hobbs. I am 29 years old. I work as a junior accounts manager at a logistics firm on the west side of the city. I share a small 1-bedroom flat with no one by choice because the alternative was staying in the house I grew up in, and that house had a way of making me feel invisible even when I was standing directly in front of someone. I left at 22. Packed 2 bags on a Saturday morning while my father, Marmon, was reading the paper and my brother Isaac was still asleep. My mother, Kathleen, watched me from the kitchen doorway and said, "You'll be back." I was not back. I built my life the slow way. Every raise, every saved receipt, every month I chose the cheaper option so I could put something aside. I had a savings account I had been feeding quietly for 3 years. No one knew how much was in it. I had learned, growing up in that house, that information shared was information that could be used. Let me take you back to the story. The family home. A Tuesday evening. Seraphina is 14. The dining table. The family is gathered for dinner. Her brother Emmett, 17, has just been accepted into a county athletics program. Their father Harlan Cross sits at the head of the table beaming. Their mother Lydia claps her hands. The younger sister Mabel, 10, copies the celebration without quite knowing why. Seraphina had that same week received the highest score in her year group on a mathematics examination. She had put the paper on the kitchen counter that morning. By evening it was under a stack of post. Nobody mentioned it. She didn't rage about it that night. She was 14. She folded it away inside herself the way you fold a piece of paper you're not sure you need but can't bring yourself to throw away either. She kept folding things away for years. A brief, compressed portrait of Seraphina's teenage years. She excelled quietly. Earned a partial scholarship to study business administration. Told her parents at dinner. Harlan nodded and said, "Good. You've always been sensible." Then turned to Emmett and asked about his tournament schedule. Sensible. That was the word they used for her. Not brilliant. Not impressive. Sensible. The way you describe a pair of shoes. You'll be fine, Seraphina. You're the capable one. You don't need the fuss. The capable one. As if being capable was a consolation prize they were generously allowing her to keep. Seraphina leaves home at 23. Not dramatically. She packs her things on a Saturday, loads 2 bags into a cab, and tells her mother she's going. Lydia is making tea. She says, "You'll call." Not "we'll miss you." Not "be safe." Just "you'll call." As if Seraphina's leaving was an administrative matter, something to be noted and filed. She builds her life in a 1-bedroom flat on the east side. Finds work at a mid-sized property firm. Learns quickly. Gets promoted once then again. Opens a savings account and feeds it the way her family never fed her. Consistently, faithfully, with attention. Every pound she put in was a quiet argument against every person who had ever called her ordinary. She never said that to anyone. She just kept saving. The woman who ends up in that hospital bed 3 years later did not become strong by accident. She was built slowly by a family that gave her nothing to hold on to, so she learned to hold herself. That is important. because what comes next will try to take everything she built, and it will not succeed. City General Hospital. Thursday evening going into Friday morning. Seraphina is at her flat when the pain starts. She describes it first as indigestion, then as something sharper, something insistent. By 9 p.m. it is bad enough that she calls a cab rather than wait it out. At the hospital, a triage nurse takes one look at her and moves quickly. Appendicitis. Emergency surgery. She is prepped and under within 90 minutes of arriving. The last thing she sees before the anesthetic takes her. A ceiling tile with a small brown water stain in one corner, shaped vaguely like a bird in flight. She fixes her eyes on it. She thinks, someone should know I'm here. She does not say it out loud. She never does. She wakes in the recovery room. The nurse tells her she has been under for 4 hours. 3 stitches. Clean procedure. She will be sore, but she is going to be absolutely fine. The chair beside her bed is empty. She picks up her phone. 9 missed calls, 6 from her mother Lydia, 2 from Emmett, 1 from her aunt Clara Voss, who calls approximately 4 times a year and always at inconvenient moments. She calls Lydia. Seraphina. How are you feeling? I just woke up. I had surgery. Are you coming? We're at Emmett's party, love. The venue is paid for. Everyone's already here. It would cause such a disruption. I woke up from surgery. Alone. The doctor said it went well. You're fine. Your father says take the bus when they discharge you. Line 9 goes directly. Right. Don't be like this. You know how important tonight is for Emmett. She set the phone down on the blanket. She did not cry. She had learned a long time ago that tears spent in that direction came back to her with no interest. She lay back against the pillow and stared at the ceiling and let the information settle over her like cold water. Later that evening, cycling through her missed calls, Seraphina notices an unfamiliar number. A voicemail. She plays it. A woman's voice. Careful. Professional. Her name is Pearl Haskins. She is calling from Seraphina's bank, Meridian Savings. She needs Seraphina to come in as soon as possible. There have been some irregularities identified on her account. It is time-sensitive. Irregularities. The word sat in the room with her the same way the empty chair did. She had one savings account. She had been building it for 3 years. The last time she checked, the balance was just over £14,000. She had not touched it in 6 months. She put the phone face down. She stared at the water stain on the ceiling. A different ceiling tile, a different hospital, but she thought of the bird-shaped stain from the operating room and wondered briefly if things only looked like birds when something was about to break open. Her colleague Lorena McGraw comes to collect her at discharge. Lorena brings a flask of tea and does not ask a single question that doesn't need answering. Seraphina is grateful in a way that almost undoes her composure. At home she showers, changes, sits at the kitchen table, calls Pearl Haskins back. The call is answered on the first ring. Meridian Savings Bank. A small meeting room near the back. Pearl Haskins across a desk. Pearl Haskins is in her late 40s. Neat. Careful with her words the way accountants are careful with numbers. Nothing unnecessary, nothing imprecise. She opens a printed file and lays it on the desk between them. Over the past 7 weeks, 13 transactions have been made from Seraphina's savings account. Total amount removed, £12,300. The transactions were made using Seraphina's login credentials, but from a device not registered to the account. On 3 occasions, the external device was active while Seraphina's own registered phone was simultaneously logged in, which is what triggered the system flag. Do you recognize any of these transaction dates or amounts? No. Someone with access to your login details and your registered phone number has been making these withdrawals. The OTP text would have been received on your number, but the login was completed elsewhere. My phone. Someone who had access to my phone. She knew. She had known since the word irregularities. She just needed the paper in front of her to make it real enough to act on. 8 months earlier, Emmett had come to her flat for the first time in 2 years. He was charming, easy the way he always was. He said he was trying to sort out his finances. Could she show him how to set up mobile banking? She had shown him. Sat at this same kitchen table. He had watched everything. Her account number, her password, the way she navigated her security questions. She had thought nothing of it. He was her brother. She had also, at one point, gone to make tea and left her phone on the table. He had been alone with it for 4 minutes. 4 minutes. She had given him 4 minutes and he had used them to build a door into her account that he walked through 13 times over 7 weeks. 13 times while she was sleeping, working, sitting in meetings, driving home. 13 times while she was living her ordinary, careful life. Pearl asks Seraphina if she has a suspicion about who may have accessed the account. Seraphina says she needs a moment. She looks at the column of withdrawals. She recognizes the pattern now, amount sized carefully, spaced deliberately. Never enough in one hit to trigger an immediate alert. This was not panic. This was arithmetic. Emmett's party had been at Harlan's club. Private room, open bar, a live musician. Lorena had mentioned seeing photos on social media. The new watch Emmett was photographed wearing. The weekend trip their parents had arranged. The catered food. Begin the investigation. Freeze the account. I want every transaction documented. Once we begin formally, this becomes a matter of record. It cannot be quietly withdrawn. Good. She drove home slowly. Kept both hands on the wheel. Kept her face completely still. She had 3 stitches in her abdomen and 12,300 pounds missing and a family at a party she had not been invited to attend. She was not angry yet. Anger is loud and loose. What she felt was something quieter and more precise. Something that knew exactly where it was going. Seraphina's kitchen. 4 days after the bank meeting. A Saturday morning. Harlan Cross arrives unannounced. He is 61. Big-framed, slow-moving. A man accustomed to being the largest presence in a room. He sits at her kitchen table without being invited to. He looks around the flat with that familiar assessing look. He says the bank called him. He says Seraphina needs to stop this before it goes further. He says Emmett made a mistake. He says the word family 3 times in 4 sentences. He panicked about the costs. It got away from him. He's your brother, Seraphina. He accessed my savings account without my knowledge. 13 times. Over 7 weeks. He was going to pay it back. He didn't ask me. He didn't tell me. He assumed I wouldn't notice. Or that if I did, I would say nothing. You're going to destroy this family over money. I woke up from surgery and called you. And you told me to take the bus. You were at a party for the person who had been taking from my account for 2 months. So don't talk to me about this family. The door closed. She sat very still. She had said all of it out loud for the first time and it had not felt like a release. It had felt like documentation. Like signing something official. 2 days later. Emmett calls. His voice is smooth at the surface but something underneath it is moving too fast. He asks if they can handle this privately. He says the word please twice, which is more than Seraphina has ever heard from him in her life. Sarah, come on. Can we just talk? Just the 2 of us privately. No banks, no lawyers. There's nothing left to handle privately. That window closed 13 transactions ago. He starts to say something else. She ends the call. She noticed she felt nothing after hanging up. Not satisfaction. Not guilt. Just a clean, flat neutrality. It was the emotional equivalent of a room after you've taken everything out of it. Lydia comes 3 days after Harlan. She doesn't knock hard enough. A soft, apologetic tap, as if hoping Seraphina might not hear it. She sits at the same chair. She doesn't take her coat off. She tells Seraphina that the family is devastated. She tells her that Pearl Haskins called to confirm the investigation was proceeding. She tells Seraphina she has humiliated them. You put your own brother through this. For money. What kind of daughter does something like this? The kind who woke up alone in a hospital bed. And still had to sort everything out herself. Lydia stands. Her voice goes the particular cold of someone who has just realized they have no more arguments left, only emotions. I hope you're proud of yourself. I am. She says it quietly. Without performance. Lydia leaves. Seraphina makes fresh tea and sits back down. A solicitor's office. Seraphina meets Deborah Voss, mid-40s, efficient, with reading glasses she pushes up rather than removes. Deborah reviews the bank's documentation. She confirms that the device ID matches a tablet registered in Emmett's name. The transaction records are clean and traceable. She outlines two paths: criminal complaint or civil claim for full recovery with interest. Given the evidence, a civil claim is the faster route to recovery. Criminal proceedings are longer, and the outcome less certain in terms of financial return. I want the money back, and I want it documented. Formally. Permanently. Then we proceed with the civil claim. A compressed portrait of the 4 weeks of investigation. Seraphina goes to work. She comes home. She doesn't discuss it with colleagues except Lorena, who asks once carefully, and Seraphina gives her the broad shape of it. Lorena says, "Good. You're doing the right thing." That is all Seraphina needs. Meanwhile, the family's calls increase then taper off entirely. Her Aunt Clara, Lydia's sister, leaves a voicemail urging Seraphina to reconsider for the sake of peace. Seraphina does not return it. Miranda Turlo, her father's cousin, sends a text asking her to think about what she is doing to her parents. She noted each message, filed it, said nothing. Every person who called to ask her to stop was a person who had stayed silent when it mattered. When she was in a hospital bed calling for someone to come, they had no credit with her now. Pearl Haskins calls with the formal confirmation. Device ID confirmed as Emmett's tablet. The civil claim letter has been formally lodged. Emmett has 14 days to respond through legal representation. She put the phone down and sat at the kitchen table, and for the first time in 5 weeks she felt something loosen slightly in her chest. Not relief. Something earlier than relief, the particular feeling of a process that is working the way it was designed to. A neutral office. A long table. Deborah Voss on one side with Seraphina. Emmett and his solicitor, a man named Clovis Finch, tight-lipped and professional, on the other. Harlan and Lydia seated against the wall, not at the table, which means they are witnesses, not participants. The documents are reviewed. Emmett has not disputed the transactions. His position is one of acknowledgement without apology. A legal strategy, Deborah had warned her, designed to minimize exposure while admitting as little genuine responsibility as possible. He signs the repayment agreement. Full amount plus interest across 20 months. Automatic transfer. First of each month. Emmett does not look at her. Not once. Not when he sits down, not when the papers are slid across the table, not when he signs. He keeps his eyes on the documents, on his solicitor, on the middle distance. He never says sorry. She watched his pen move across the signature line and felt, not triumph, something more muted than that. She had come in wanting justice and she was leaving with a repayment schedule. They were not the same thing. She knew that. But one of them was real, and the other was always going to be something she had to find inside herself. As they file out, Harlan catches up to Seraphina in the corridor. He does not touch her arm. He stands at a careful distance, as if he has learned something about her in these past weeks. "I hope you got what you wanted." "I got what was mine." "That's different." She walks to the lift. She does not look back. Seraphina goes home. She makes tea. She sits at the kitchen table. Lorena has sent a message asking how it went. She replies with 3 words. "It's done. Thank you." She opens her banking app. The account is still frozen pending the first repayment transfer. The balance reads, £1,700, what remained after the withdrawals and the legal costs. She closes the app. She puts the phone face down. Month 1, she thinks. We start again. Compressed portrait of 20 months. The transfers come in. First of every month, automatic, exact. Emmett has no choice and no room to negotiate. The agreement is legally binding and Deborah had made sure of it. Seraphina adds to the account herself the way she always has. A steady, faithful addition each month. She watches 2 streams of money flowing into the same place. Her discipline and his consequence side by side. Her family calls occasionally. Festivals happen. She attends one, Mabel's graduation from nursing college. She goes, she is warm to Mabel, she is civil to everyone else. She leaves before the dinner. Nobody tries to stop her. She was not rebuilding the relationship. She was simply not burning the bridge entirely, because Mabel had done nothing wrong. There is a difference between mercy and reconciliation. She understood that now. On a Tuesday morning, 18 months after the settlement, Seraphina opens her banking app before work. The balance has crossed £14,000. The original number. The number it was before any of this. She sits at the kitchen table. Tea going warm in the mug. Outside, the city is doing what cities do, moving, indifferent, loud in the background and easy to ignore. She looks at the number for a long time. She had rebuilt it alone. The same way she built it the first time. Nobody had helped. Nobody had needed to. She had been called ordinary her entire life by people who mistook her silence for smallness. She was not small. She had never been small. She had just been waiting, without knowing she was waiting, for the moment that would prove it beyond any argument. This was that number. This was that moment. Lorena comes round for tea that evening. She notices Seraphina seems lighter somehow. She doesn't ask directly. She just says, "You look like someone who finished something." Seraphina thinks about that. "I think I finally stopped waiting for them to see me. And turns out I didn't need them to. Speak directly to the audience. Earned, not sentimental. Close on strength. The flat is quiet, and the quiet is chosen, not leftover. The savings account is the highest it has ever been. No one has her passwords. No one has access to what she built. Her family knows something about her now that they did not know before, that she is not the background, never was. The 3 stitches healed. Small marks barely visible now. But she knows they are there. Some wounds leave marks that remind you what you survived, and that you survived it standing up. They called her the capable one, the sensible one, the quiet one who never caused trouble. She had decided to let them keep believing that, right up until the moment it mattered. And then she caused exactly the right kind,